Kingdom.
Fuck that house now. I'm back. To the top, I'ma make it. Niggas just can't take it. To the top, I'ma make 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 it. Niggas just can't take it. Yeah.
Yo, what's good, YouTube? It's your boy AJ. I'm here with Rage and Cypher. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, so you get all your breaking Nets news. We're so close to 19K, so don't forget to share too. Follow us on Instagram at Nets Kingdom 1. All our Twitters are scrolling at the bottom. And netskingdom.net. Check out netskingdom.net. We got an article, the recent article Cypher just dropped about KD returning to the Nets. Make sure you guys check in on that. So today we're going to talk about the Nets cap space in 2025 and the future. So I got AI. It's crazy how AI works, man. AI overview. Basically, they blessed us. It says, as of August 8th, 2024, Keith Smith of Spotrac projected that the Brooklyn Nets will have $38.7 million in cap space for 2025, which would be the most in the NBA. However, a lot can change in the next 11 months. Some say that the Nets could spend $80 million in 2025 cap space by letting expiring deals run out and using the 16 first-round picks that Mark has collected. So Keith said 38.7. I think it could possibly go a little bit more up, depending on basically, I guess they're factoring in Cam Thomas extension, who's going to get extended, who's staying. But we know for a fact it's Bojan's gone. All the expiring Dennis is probably gone. Who else?
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons is going to be gone, and that's a big one, 40 mil. The only thing left is DFS and CJ. So if DFS and CJ are gone, I think that
Shake will be gone.
Yeah, Shake. If DFS and CJ are gone, I think that kind of boosted higher. Maybe if I'm not mistaken, it should be a little bit higher than 38.
Yeah, and so if you think about it, like with
Mhm.
Cam, that's probably factoring Dorian and Cam Johnson still.
Yeah, I think it's factoring Dorian and Cam. But what do you guys think about first before I'm gonna talk about Brian Lewis's article about the short rebuild that the Nets are supposed to have. But what do you guys think about the cap space? What do you think Sean is going to do with all that cap space in 2025, 2026? Well, Ray, you can go first. Like, what's your opinion?
So I think ultimately, like if we go in this rebuild route that we think we're going to go in by the time we hit 2025, like we'll have more money than what we're projected to have in terms of like, I think we'll have quite a substantial amount, like maybe even towards like 50.
Mhm.
But like, if we with that amount of money, I mean, obviously we'll be in a point where we're gonna obviously draft our top guy. Like we know what we're shooting for. We're shooting for number 1, 2, 3. We're shooting there.
Yeah.
But with that cap space, it's like you're gonna need to have guys around. You're gonna need to have guys around. And guys that are like actually proven in this league around. Cam Thomas and your younger guys too that you're trying to develop. You're gonna need those players. Like when you look at a lot of these teams, that start off from like a rebuild, you got to get those fillers, and you have to find those guys that fit with your generational stars that you're trying to draft. In terms of, I mean, you drafted Cam Thomas, you're trying to put them around, and essentially you get like you draft a Cooper Flag or you draft a Ace Bailey. Like you got to get guys to help get those guys better, but also make your team better as well. Like you look at like the Mavs, you have your fillers, your Celtics, you drafted Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but Chris Stapps, Drew Holiday, Derek White, all of those guys are trade signing guys.
Yeah. Go ahead, Saif. What is your opinion on 2025 cap space?
I mean, it depends. So here are my two mindsets. There's one, the rebuilding mindset, where Sean Marks uses this cap space, absorbs bad contracts, and gets more draft picks out of it. So that's one scenario. Like, trading for Levine. Well, maybe not him specifically because his contract's really bad, but trading for the idea of like a Zach LaVine, a guy that's overpaid, getting another unprotected first, and just dealing with it. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is the quick rebuild where you give a bunch of role players like some short-term deals and then prepare for 2026 to sign like a Kevin Durant and then go all in from there.
Yeah. Then you start building the yeah, that's a good point you made because in 2025 it's like Sean could either be like we can either be the dumping ground for the bad contracts, and I think that's what he was doing before we
Utah 2.0. You could be Utah or OKC 2.0.
yeah, like
You know what I'm
he
saying?
would do the Mozgov stuff, the terrible contracts. You take the terrible contracts, but you get that draft capital. Sam Presti did a little bit of that, I think, a little bit of
Like
that.
you see, like
Mhm.
you saw like what the Jazz have had like what
Oh, the
bought out
Jazz,
Russell
yeah,
Westbrook
perfect.
multiple
Yeah,
times. You saw what OKC traded for like Kemba Walker and bought him
yeah,
out. We
yeah.
saw the Pistons trade for like Kemba Walker and buy him out and buy out other people. Just trade for
Danny
people and
Ainge is
buy
a
him out. Like,
master at that, of being one of those dumping grounds, just
oh
getting
yeah,
stealing first rounds for just random players that are just nobody wants anymore. Like those, that he's perfect at that. Yeah, it's a good, like I said, it's a good pivotability because you could really. I think the best option, in my opinion, is I think we should stay pivotable. Like we should stay in that pivot. We should stay in the rebuild era until I think we should wait to hit on the star button. When we press the star button, everything has to line up right. Like I said, I want to draft Cooper if we get to number one. See how things are. Maybe sign some. I know we have to spend money, obviously, because the NBA. There's a what is there a floor we have to
There's a
reach?
yeah,
salary
there's some
floor, yeah.
floor.
Yeah, the salary floor. So spend that money on just like random guys that we don't really hear about, or like I guess decent young guys.
For this year especially, like we
Yeah,
already know we're not going to be like or this up or like for the 2025 year, like we know that for that year, like where we have a bunch of cap space, we know we're going to just be drafting our top guys. So we're not going to be great. Like
yeah,
you're not doing nothing. That'll be just a kind of a chill year, watch your guys develop again. Watch your
yeah,
star, develop that you hope, and Cam Thomas, Claxton as well, Clowney, still your same guys.
yeah. This article, shout out to Brian Lewis. So Brian Lewis posted an article around July 2nd, basically reporting that the Brooklyn Nets are expected to follow a shorter rebuild strategy after trading away Mikal Bridges to the New York Knicks and recouping control of their next two drafts. Says here the shorter path down that road is to keep going the way they're going, to use the 16 first round picks Marks has collected. And after letting the expiring deals of Ben Simmons, Bojan, and Dennis run out next summer, spend a staggering $80 million in 2025 cap space. So it looks like what Brian Lewis was kind of alluding to was that basically Brooklyn doesn't want to wait too long. Like this is not one of those Detroit Pistons or Hornets or one of those long rebuilds that's going to take like years and years and years.
Even Sacramento.
Yeah, it looks like Sean and Josiah want to like kind of do this quick kind of rebuild and then hunt for the stars and get back in the race. So that's very, very interesting that they're thinking of like they're not really thinking too far long term, because in my mind, like my perfect rebuild mind, I was thinking like we get Cooper or Ace. 2026 comes up, we get Boozer or AJ DeBansta. 2027 comes up, that's where I think we have to start building. Like the culture has to build. We have to be one of those in the mix top 8 teams. And then I was thinking 2028 was where we can hunt for the stars. But if they're on that quick, short rebuild, they probably want to speed things up and see if, we can get it kicking by 2026. So I'm like,
2025, the free agents that are like good. Jimmy Butler, Jamal Murray in theory, Julius Randle in theory,
yeah.
Brandon Ingram, Naz Reid. Like I don't know. There are players like we could just snag some good role players and then draft.
I would love to snag Naz Reid. Oh, we could snag Naz Reid I would love to get Naz Reid for a little few, because he's still young. What is Naz, like 22, 24, something like that? He's young.
Like 24.
Yeah, I would love to snag Naz Reid. There are, as I said, there is good when we have the cap space. So there are good players that like. If I'll say this, what do you guys think? If there's like young guys that are like, could we like bring on to this rebuild? Do you think like Sean will make that move? If there's like,
you also got to think about it too. Maybe he can like say we get pick number one, right? Say we get Cooper Flag.
right.
Maybe his mindset is like, okay, we get Cooper Flag. This is a shorter rebuild. Or say we get 3 or we get 4, or maybe we even get 5. Then you're like, okay, this is a longer term rebuild. Like we don't
Yeah.
necessarily have this guy we think we might, have, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point you made, because the draft lottery does determine a lot. Like where our position is in the draft, it's like it could push us towards a longer term rebuild or the higher if we get the number 1 pick, that kind of speeds things up in my opinion. I mean, we still
Because
got to
like we
see
know
if
these guys are good, but like
yeah,
Cooper Flag is obviously a much highly touted prospect than
yeah.
like
And he
edge.
still has to prove himself. We can't jump ahead like Cooper,
Of
Ace, they still
course,
got to prove
no.
themselves at the NBA level, but it's a hell of a start if for a rebuild if you get a number 1, one of the top picks rated all across, all American guy, so it's
Possible
like
generational prospect,
yeah. So it's like it's a great way to recharge a rebuild. But if we don't, because there's a possibility if we don't get that number 1, number 2, number 3, it's like, damn, where do we go from here? Let me ask you guys that. Where do we go from here? Like if it worst case scenario, we get like if we got us number 6 in the draft lottery, and what do you guys think? Like
I mean,
where does Sean go from there?
this is what I expect.
Yeah.
This is what I think is likely to happen. We play out the year. We're going to be bad.
Yeah.
We get a top 5 pick, and whoever we draft, and then in free agency, all that cap space.
Yeah.
We give out some short-term deals, or we trade for like a bad expiring contract, absorb a pick, and then in 2026, after whoever we draft rookie year, if that player is like on an all-star trajectory, like we draft an Ace Bailey and he's averaging like 17 in his rookie year, Cam Thomas looks great. Then I think in 2026 they make the big moves.
They make the big moves into okay. So you don't think they wait for that 2026 draft class? They're just like, we press the start button because there might be some crazy free agents in 2026 available.
Yeah, because if this draft class is good and we do get like an Ace Bailey, Cooper Flag, then that we accomplished the goal. We got the star.
Yeah, you're right. I think
just same.
the 2026 draft. I think like AJ and Boozer are going to be good, but it's like regardless, we're still going to have a bunch of picks. We're still going to be in that. I think we're going to be in the 2026 draft anyway. So it's like, regardless where we're at, we'll still be getting a draft. We have a boatload of picks at this point. So it's like you don't really have to force the issue to get 2026 guys. It really depends like where we're at that moment. So yeah, let us know in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe. Let us know this cap space. What do you guys think Sean's gonna do with all this money, all this 80 mil or 70 mil, whatever, how much we're projected to get? What do you think he's gonna do with the cap space? What do you guys think the future of the rebuild is at? Let us know in the comments. Appreciate you guys. Hit that like button for us. Follow us on Nets Kingdom 1. All our Twitters are scrolling at the bottom, and netskingdom.net for the articles. Appreciate you guys so much.